Hello and welcome to another ETN Files interview. It's July, toward the end, and it's 2021. I'm delighted to share with you some information, in fact, a very short interview with a lovely gentleman who contacted me back in May 2021 about volunteering to help those experiencers who feel they have some trauma and they would like some support working through that. Now, Nigel is a very interesting character. He has been a pilot most of his life. He has done a lot of missionary work. He, from a young child, found himself dedicating himself to Jesus. And that's very interesting for someone at such a young age, but he is also an experiencer. So there's a really great mix there. And what he did with the church as well was to do a 5-month course in trauma release. So Nigel has been working with people over the years in all kind of manner of circumstances, everything from, say, the black arts to anything. And he feels that now he is retired, he would really like to extend his love and care to those in this community, the experiencer community. And that was the reason for his contact. So we've got just a very short interview with Nigel, and I hope you'll enjoy it. And I'm going to let him tell his story. And it is really fascinating. Enjoy.
Yes, well, when I was about 7 years old, I woke up in the middle of the night and I saw these little creatures at the end of my bed, which I now understand to be the small greys. There were probably about 5 or 6 of them, and as you can imagine, I was very shocked. And I was in the habit of praying at the time. My grandmother had taught me to pray, and I said a prayer. I believe I said the Lord's Prayer, and they just melted away. And I have not seen any ET objects since then. And as far as I know, I was not abducted. I may have been, but I don't think I was. And another time, not long after that, I had what appeared to be a woman who came into the room dressed in black, with fiery eyes and very unkempt hair, staring into my face. I let out a scream, and my mother came in and said, "Oh, what's happening?" And I explained to her, and she said, "Oh, you're just dreaming, dear. Just a dream. Go back to sleep." I was not dreaming. I did see this woman. I did see her come into my room, and I did see her stare into my face. But that's about the sum total of my ET experiences. I've not actually seen a flying saucer, as far as I know. I have seen strange lights in the sky, which could be ETs. I don't know, but during my pilot career, I have heard of many instances of flying saucers UFOs being seen and reported. Normally, you would report that to your manager, and he would hand it on to the UFO desk at the Ministry of Defence. There were many reports, but of course, some pilots would not report it. They would just keep it to themselves and not bother to report it.
So this is the ET Newsroom, and this is segment 2 with Nigel Reilly, who is sharing with us some of his experiences and how he became a Christian and what that means for him, and how he has done quite a lot of work with trauma ministry and such, which is where he fits right in with a lot of the work that I do.
Well, when I was a young child, my grandmother used to come and visit us, and my sister and I were taught Bible stories and how to pray. And we got really interested in that as young children. When I was 8 years old, I went to my bedroom and I felt that I really wanted to become a Christian. So I prayed and I said to Jesus, "I'm sorry for the things that I've done. I realize I've done bad things. I am sorry, and I want to commit my life to you, Jesus." And I had the most amazing experience. It felt like some warm milk was being poured into the top of my head. And it was a wonderful experience. It just welled up inside me. And I really knew somehow that was the Holy Spirit. And from that day on, I believe that I became a Christian. I prayed every night. I still pray every night, regularly attend church. And when I retired, my wife and I had a really wonderful experience of going to a Bible college for a 5-month residential course to learn prayer ministry. And we prayed after receiving that course, we prayed for people suffering from all kinds of traumas. People were referred from their churches in London, and we prayed for people who have been involved in witchcraft and various other pretty awful things. And with quite a success, but many people were helped and felt a great release.
Have you had much experience of speaking to people with ET experiences, such as we've discussed earlier?
No, I haven't really been into that very much, but I'm happy to be involved in that. I think that trauma ministry is applicable to people in those situations, and I'd be very happy to offer prayers and prayer ministry for people involved in that aspect.
Is this something that you can do remotely, or do you feel you need to see people?
Well, it could be done remotely, but it's far better to be done face to face. And I am able to travel. I have my own car, and of course, I've never taken any expenses or payments for this work at any time. I'm happily available now. I'm retired. And
I think it would be quite interesting to just give people a little bit of background too about what you did for the majority of your working life, because that involves flight and being a pilot, and then using those skills in the ministry side of things.
Yes, well, I was very fortunate in that at the age of 20, I obtained a place at the Royal Naval College, Dartmouth, and I went on to qualify as a pilot in the Fleet Air Arm. Following that, I went into airline flying. I flew for a small airline, and then later for British Airways. And then I spent 10 years in Africa flying for Mission Aviation Fellowship, flying missionaries and aid workers to and from remote areas, which was probably the most fruitful and the most enjoyable part of my career. Later on, I did a 5 years flying cargo aircraft before I finally retired from flying. But I still enjoy flying, and in fact, I still do fly a light aircraft about once a month.
Oh, wonderful.
From Coventry Airport.
So that's exciting.
I'm still very happy to do that.
Yeah, I have to ask you, as I've been working with someone who's an experienced and who doesn't live in Coventry anymore, but that's where they came from, and that's where they had a major, or the major experience of their life as also a 7-year-old. Interesting, those early years, ages. Have you seen anything in Coventry or anywhere else for that matter?
I've not seen anything, no, in the form of ET presence there.
Yeah. Can I just go back to the lady in black with the crazy hair and the did you say fiery eyes?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Do you have an opinion about what she might have been? Because a lot of experiences have sort of paranormal activity running hand in hand with their experiences.
Well, it was very soon after that I'd made this prayer to become a Christian, and as well as that, I was having nightmares at the time, and I think it was an attack from the powers of darkness.
Yeah.
Because I had given this commitment to become a Christian, and I believe that ties it up. That's how it was involved.
And I think it's quite interesting. I know we're not going to speak about it too much. There's nothing probably to say too much about it, but your conversion to Christian, or giving yourself to Christ, I don't know if I'm saying this correctly, at 8 years old, which is very, very young, I think, to be making such a grown-up, mature decision. But that didn't happen too long, as I understand it, after your ET experience. And I know that you, as I said, you prayed and the ETs disappeared, but I think it's in sort of the ballpark of less than a year. Is that right?
Yes, it was probably only 2 or 3 months.
Yeah. Did that frighten you a lot, the grey ETs, the images that you saw?
It was a big shock. I really was very frightened indeed, and my reaction to that was immediately to go to prayer.
Yeah.
and then very soon they just melted away, these little graves, you know.
Did you have any kind of sense of communication with them, or was it just, did they look quite solid as far as you could tell, or was this something perhaps more of a vision? What would you say?
Well, they look very solid, and of course I didn't know what they were. I didn't have no name for them. But later, when I studied the ET phenomena, of course I recognized them straight away as the as graves.
Yeah.
You know, I whether or not I was abducted or not, I don't know. I may have been abducted at that time, but I've no knowledge or memory of that.
Yeah. Well, I think that's great, and I think it's lovely that you're offering your service, and thank you very much for that, because I do know I've had calls over the years from people who have perhaps not wanted to do anything else other than tell me that they've had the experience. And I know that one lady who was all in her 80s at the time, she called me and saying that when she was 80, she had an experience with, I'm going to call it a reptilian, as she did, and it told her that she belonged to him, or was to that effect. And she said, oh no, she said, my life is with Jesus. And she began praying and thinking in that direction. And like your grace, that too disappeared. So is there something about a frequency there of that Christed energy or connection that I think is really powerful? And, you know, I have to say I've used it myself when I have felt, I'll call it a psychic attack coming on, or because since doing the Amash project, now the ET Newsroom, I certainly, not so much these days, but certainly in the formative days, had quite a lot of, interception, for want of a better term. But yes, so I think it is about the frequency changing and us anchoring the light, as I'll call the Christ energy. And again, other people might want to call it something else, but it doesn't matter. Words can be semantics, and I don't think we have anything like the right or correct understanding completely using the language as we do. But that's just from my narrow perspective, because I just don't have perhaps the level of awareness as other people do, but we're working on it. Well, Nigel, is there anything else you'd like to say to people who might be looking for some support or help that you could offer them?
Well, since my retirement, I have had the privilege of praying for a large number of people, and I will say that I would like to say they've all been helped, but certainly many of them have expressed their opinion that they have specifically received help in many ways from trauma issues. Those who have been involved in witchcraft and the occult and things of that nature. So I think I have got something to offer, and if people are wanting this kind of ministry, I'll do my best to see them and arrange to help them.
Lovely. Well, I think that's absolutely great, Nigel, and thank you very much for coming all this way to share with us some of your story and to offer your service. Everything is valuable and much appreciated in this field, so I look forward to working with you in the future, and thank you.
Thank you, Joanna. Thank you.
Over and out from the ET Newsroom, folks.
Right.
Well, folks, I hope you enjoyed that short walk around Nigel's life and enjoyed to hear some of his amazing experiences. For anyone wanting to contact Nigel, which they can do through me, I will certainly be passing on that information and also keeping in touch with Nigel to see how he's getting on with anyone he is supporting. Now, I've created a new email, which will be a dedicated email for anyone wanting to take up Nigel's support and help, and anyone else who comes on board with such support offered. So the address is helptretn@hotmail.com. That's help, trauma release, etn @hotmail.com. and you can be sure I shall pass that on to Nigel very shortly. The phone number for anybody else that wants to contact me about their experiences and perhaps would like to do an interview or not, it doesn't matter. You can call me either on the helpline or the hotline, which is 0795 1752 813. The etnewsroom@gmail.com is the email for that information. So in the meantime, take care of yourselves, and I'll see you at another interview. Bye.